indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Has everybody read the minutes? Both sets?
Yes, I have. I didn't see any additions or corrections. Did you, Gary? Nope. Then I would make a motion to approve both sets.
All in favor of approving the minutes, both sets?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of final plat, resolution MS. What can you tell me about that?
Here is the final plat, if you want to take a look at that. And then if you approve it, I have signatures.
So it's Schrader. Did I take it Schrader?
Grain Engineer is the one that did it. Are you talking about the owners?
Yeah.
It looks like Schrader Properties are the owners, yes.
So they're making it bigger?
They're doing it parcel A. They're dividing out those lots 1 and 2.
Thank you.
It's doing 2 lots in that parcel A. In the northeast of 3283-9. So that's where you see in that survey, the lots 1 and 2, that whole, so they're dividing those out. So it's actually, part of it looks like it's in parcel B as well.
Don't know if I recall this coming up to us before, so either. Yeah. I guess my question is, why are they dividing it? I don't have a problem with that. I'm kind of curious what's going on.
And I don't have that, like their intent of what they're doing, I don't have that in here.
Normally, they have a little assistance with this.
Exactly, somebody usually comes up and explains it either from the engineering department or Mark Greenlee. So,
Is Mark got time to come up?
Does he know anything about it?
He does know about it because Barb's got a note here because there is, a note with his approval because, they have to do a fee statement and he approved that. They haven't paid their fee yet, so if you sign it, I just can't release anything until they paid the fee of $500. So, I mean, he signed off on the fee statement, so.
So it sounds like all the ducks are in a row. You know, there's, other than curiosity, I don't know if there's any other grounds to, you know, withhold or delay. It's just normally somebody comes up with it.
Well, that's what I thought. See, I'm guessing, kind of somewhat in my back door, lot 1, there's a house, residential house there. And lot 2 is,
Probably the shop building.
yes,
And I know in real estate transactions, maybe even estate planning, there needs to be a division, so.
Well, and if they're dividing it a third time, it just qualifies with that subdivision ordinance. So it could be that they're just maybe wanting to do another house with the shop, you know, is an assumption. And it's just, they're not wanting to big a huge development, but it's just 2 separate lots, I would assume, but.
This part right here,
Kind of funky, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
it don't make sense to me why they would do that.
unless it's access to the, you know, the farm ground behind. But then they've got that larger portion that has that exposure anyway, so.
And it goes to a point,
Excuse me. I guess ours is the reason why that's like that. Excuse me. Yeah, I guess what I would say is Mark Ringley has said everything is good. Again, it's kind of out of the ordinary that somebody doesn't come up and explain it, but I guess it doesn't have to be.
okay, well,
As long as Mark says it's good, I will throw the motion out that we accept that final plat.
Gary?
I guess I'll second it. I'd like to have it explained to me.
Okay, it's by resolution, so
Yes. Primer aye.
Dershake, aye.
Seaman, aye, passes.
So these 2, I have these separated because one is for their copy. So this is where you guys need to sign up for what goes back to them, and then this is our copies.
Okay,
So-
we have to sign them too, right?
Yep, so there's just 3 pages each. Just didn't want to separate it too much and not know how it went back together. Mark's calling. He
Must be
did,
watching.
so I don't know what he is.
Good morning.
Hey,
Alright.
Barb, Mark just tried calling.
Yes, he was going to clarify, those lots already have the buildings on it. They have to separate out the lots because of he, yeah. Mark just tried calling. Yes, he was going to clarify, those lots already
Oh,
have
I was thinking.
the buildings on it. Yes, she's telling him. They have to separate out
You are again.
You know, that's been done for financing purposes and things.
because of the new building.
You need to shut off their
Barb, shut off your, or mute your YouTube.
response.
There you go.
Thanks.
This is the response.
You still there?
Hello? She muted the phone.
No, she muted the phone.
Well,
But we understand now.
okay.
We got clarification on it, so thanks, Barb. Modern technology.
Yeah, great.
There was only one page in that
Even tried
blue
to call
folder,
myself
and then the
out.
2 single pages there, Gary.
There you go.
Thanks.
All right.
You have item 6 or 7?
Yeah. Deb Christensen's resignation from Benton County Pioneer Cemetery Commission. What can you tell me about that?
Is there
She has a formal resignation. Wayne Shannon has the letter, and they have a recommendation for a replacement there.
Okay.
I'll move to accept Deb Christensen's resignation.
Do I have a second?
Sure.
All in favor of accepting the resignation of Deb Christensen?
Aye.
Aye. She plans to continue assisting the group cemetery wells to reestablish. We have a person looking to hire Justin Beershank. Hey, okay. Conflict of interest there, buddy.
Got his for you. He's a conflict of interest. We got trouble. I'm related to Denver. Anybody in the South?
Well, they make a recommendation, I'll let you read it, Justin Beershank for replacement.
All right. Well, then I would make the motion that we accept their recommendation for Justin Beershank to be appointed to the Pioneer Cemetery Board.
Okay, Gary seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That was easy.
And it's nice he's been attending some of the meetings, so he knows what he's getting into.
Number 5, I guess, approve resolution or proclamation of April as Sexual Awareness Month.
That's at 9:35, it is.
Is it? Oh,
Oh,
yes, it
definitely.
is. Excuse me.
How about 7?
I don't have it. Do you have that? Discuss, approve business lease agreement between Benton County and the Cedar Valley Ranch.
Don't know anything about it.
It's right there. I just
This is-
noted it. I'll take that resignation. Thank
Do we
you.
need to additionally, or?
Nope, no, because you did the formal motion. Mhm.
I'm gonna guess that this is just basically a renewal on that lease agreement.
Yes, Cedar Valley Ranch. Just give me a second and I'll pass it on.
Of course.
I just want to know that since December, we had 2 water heaters go bad, Young Plumbing and Heating. Okay, do you know much about the lease? 'Cause I do not know anything about it. Do you remember much? Is it
Been several years, I don't recall,
$1, I suppose, or something?
I don't recall what it is.
Okay,
I do know that if they have a certain margin of profit that they pay to the county, you know, and again, don't know what those numbers are.
yeah.
But it's been working.
Must be special water heaters. One 9/16,
I'm sorry?
it was signed 1/9/16
That's right after we got in.
on 19/16. No, it was amended.
I've never been out there.
Yeah. I go out about every 6 months.
They usually have us out there for a meeting, an annual meeting, but due to COVID, you know, it didn't happen. So,
Biggest problem that I see is they're keeping enough people out there. They get, I would say they get overlooked sometimes. There's several areas in the 7-county region that take these patients and they get overlooked. They're doing all right.
I would anticipate those water heaters are much larger than the normal household water heater.
You think?
But that probably should be big enough to heat a swimming pool.
It's really changed since years ago when every county had their own alarm.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello. Well, from what I can see here, they're asking for,
Just renewal.
I get the renewal, but they're asking for a transfer of funds as well.
Mm.
So the thing I want to know is the equity transfer of that amount. We asked to keep this for faculty upgrades, is used for the water heaters. So I'm guessing this is part of the original contract, like I said, where they pay to the county over and above a certain profit margin. That's what this looks like. They're gonna use one of the expenses. So, 1 year extension from July 1st, 21 through June 30th, 22. I make that motion that we extend that agreement.
Second.
All in favor of approving the lease agreement between Benton County and Cedar Valley Ranch?
Aye.
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 And then, to the auditor's office, or maybe yourself. Maybe we want to follow up to find out more about those water heaters.
Okay.
What they're talking about as far as that equity transfer, to make sure we know what they're asking. I don't
Good.
recall the exact terms of that agreement regarding those facility upgrades.
Okay. Take care of that later, then, all right? Sign it later. Just leave
You have to,
it. Sign it.
okay.
Mm, 5 minutes. How about reports?
Well, I had a couple meetings. ACAP is a normal type meeting. Heartland Insurance was my other one. And of course, all three of us were at the one last Tuesday evening. But last Tuesday also, was it Tuesday?
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay.
Thursday.
Thursday's when I had 3 meetings all in one day.
Mhm.
In Heartland, I passed on to the auditor's office for Benton County the list again of property values for insurance purposes. Some of those values have not been looked at since we went into the Heartland pool.
Which was how long ago?
I'm not sure, Gary, long before my time or your time. So I'm not really sure how long it's been. You have a clue, Gina? 10 years at least?
I've been with the county almost 13, and we've been with Heartland since I
Okay.
started, so.
Okay, so it's been quite a while. And some of those just need to be looked at. I know that they came out, Heartland came out, went around and looked at the buildings, et cetera, but I gave that list to Haley. So, of course, she's on a much deserved break for a week, so. But anyway, that got passed on. Carl Salmons asked the question of, with everyone having their vaccinations, county or within the state of Iowa, not everyone, but those that are getting it, and talked about openings for county facilities, and his main advice was don't get in a hurry, folks. He said, I don't think we're through this thing yet. And so he said there is a COVID-19 employer information for office buildings. And so I printed that off, numerous pages there. A lot of it we already adhered to. And so, again, his recommendation is just be cautious and recall or remember that once our county employees are vaccinated, it's a 14-day period after that before it's actually takes effect. So does that make sense? Okay. So it's kind of a waiting period, 14 days after that final vaccination. So, okay. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
There's some vaccines that only require one shot.
That is correct. I think the county though is, county and city, because we did them at the same time on the first vaccination, second vaccination's coming up on the first. So, but, okay. Kind of it.
Gary, you got anything?
Not really. The regional governing board met for mental health. Didn't really have anything, just normal business.
And many of these meetings are kind of rubber stamp, normal procedures. Yeah.
Oh, there was one thing, our excess that we can't touch for regional mental health, they're messing with that at the state as we speak.
Well, that reserve was at 20%, then went to 40%, and then,
Yeah, they just keep messing with it all the time.
yeah.
And then, Polk County is in trouble all the time. I don't think anything's gonna happen with it this year. I think they were all bent about it, but I don't see anything happening with it this year.
Okay. Well, should we open up for the public hearing? Do I have a motion?
Is it, that's at 9:30. I got another
Minute?
minute, sorry.
We can change that.
But I just don't want us to get in trouble for doing something that's
Got 2
time.
2 minutes.
Yeah, I got
As for Easy Hog, they printed out a list
EC cog.
of all the,
That's for farmer English speaking. I
Yep.
know.
all the list of the appointees of different groups. And then,
Did I hear you're to be congratulated for being appointed chairman of the transportation portion of EC cog?
I wouldn't say congratulated, but it's on there. And then Friday, I met with Adam and a group of people out here to Garrison on the WMA of that wetlands that they made, that pond and all that. And that was muddy, but it looks nice. You know, almost,
Is that
almost,
one of the Hicks out there?
no,
No.
no,
That's west of that hog building.
yeah, a mile west of Todd Wiley's building. Yep. Mike Nag was there. I guess that's it. Now that,
All those in favor?
yep,
Aye.
aye,
Sorry, you trying to keep going?
yep.
Any input? Do you have any written input or anything?
I just have copies of the hearing if anybody wanted to see them. Do you want to?
Of which,
The budget.
But
oh yeah, I want a copy of that. Yes, I did. Kayla said you had copies.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome.
Is this where we can talk about 61st Street?
Not
Oh,
yet.
okay.
No, this is just, it's a traditional thing, or traditional, annual thing with the budget that, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
it's,
Budgets have to be
Yeah.
approved by a public hearing.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
you have to.
I'm not real familiar with these meetings, so.
So they're looking at the general funds and stuff like that is what you're looking at. And at a public hearing, they can't raise it, they can lower it, the budget levies or the funds and balances and that sort of thing. So that's where you're looking at the whole budget there. So it's not the easiest to read. They have to pass it by resolution. So like in this resolution, the 21-22. So when they talk about budgets, they always refer to it as like this would be fiscal year 22 because it ends in calendar year 22. Fiscal years are July 1 to June 30th. So we're currently in fiscal year 21 because it ends June 30th, 21. So what they're discussing and the public hearing is for is fiscal year 22.
That's next year's budget.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
Did you have anything written come in, or?
I didn't have any contestants or anything like that.
Well,
I don't know if you want part of the resolution discussed with public here. I mean, because that's not easy for the
yeah,
public to really read. But that's just where all the money's kind of coming from, going to. It goes over the revenues, expenditures, and all that kind of stuff.
And as she indicated, we can't go over that, we can come in under,
Okay.
which makes sense. But, okay. Well, if there's no questions, I'd move that we close the public hearing.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is closed.
There's one way to shut it off.
All right.
So you need to adopt the resolution for the budget.
So moved.
And seconded
All right.
by
By
resolution.
resolution,
Sherman, aye.
And Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye.
So there's that resolution.
Guessing this young lady's in here for item 5, the sexual awareness month.
Okay, we'll start that one then. The proclamation.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure if you guys were gonna read the proclamation, and then I was just gonna speak to other services located in Benton County.
What's your name?
Emily Parker. Unless you'd like me to read it.
Okay, Resolution 2124, proclamation of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Whereas sexual assaults affects women, children, and men of all race, culture, and economic backgrounds, and whereas in addition to the immediate physical and emotional cost, sexual assault may also associate consequences of post-traumatic stress disorder, substance abuse, depression, homeless, eating disorders, suicide, and whereas sexual assault can be devastating not only to survivors but also for the family, friends, and community of the survivor, and whereas no one person, organization, agency, or community can be eliminated sexually assault on their own. We must work together to educate the entire population about what can be done to prevent sexual assault, supporting victims, survivors, and their significant others, and support those agencies provided service to victims and survivors. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we at the Benton County Board of Supervisors in and for Benton County on behalf of all staff, citizens of Benton County, that the month of April 2021 is hereby proclaimed as Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to do the proclamation today. For Review Centers, as a member of Benton County, as my family has lived here for many, many generations, it's just really good to know that services like this exist for citizens here. Just last year, 22% of our clients were under the age of 18, so we do serve majority children in this community. A lot of our services are very silent because we are under the guise of confidentiality and very much exist within the families, providing casework, advocacy, and support through those different things. Just within last year, we had an increase of 30% of our services as well, and that's really due to our mobile advocacy. You know, as somebody that lives in a rural community, I recognize the lack of access to resources because, you know, Cedar Rapids is typically where they have their brick and mortar. And that's why over the last, 3 years, we've had that increase overall of 247% because we really dug into being a part of our rural areas. And so just know that we are prevalent. You may not know us, you may not see us, and then we typically don't meet you unless you meet us.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well,
It's by resolution.
I would make a motion that we approve the month of April and the proclamation of Sexual Awareness Month.
Second.
Okay, we got a first and a second. All in favor by resolution?
Primer, aye.
Beershank, aye.
Seaman, aye. Done deal.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for having me. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Hopefully you don't get blown away by the wind. Newhall is crazy out there.
Where's this one?
Myron hasn't showed up, so if you want to take the time for the whole business, public input.
Okay, yeah.
Now's your time.
All my time?
Yeah, open
Okay.
business.
I just had, wanted to say thanks for listening to me, but I don't know what has been resolved about that 61st Street, 61st Street. I guess my concern is where the money's getting spent, as a taxpayer. I don't see, when there's a perfectly good road coming into town, that's actually a shorter distance coming up, I think it's Second Avenue or 2nd Street up by St. Mary's Church. I don't see where there's any need to spend any money on that road. I'm not opposed to improvements, but I think there's other places in the county on other roads that need money a lot worse than that does. That's my viewpoint on it, and as far as road improvements in the county, I don't see anything in the 5-year plan other than like this year. I sent them an email last year, and that Ben Byerling, I think is his name, sent me an email. Berling sent me an email back, said like 61st Street Lane, for example. He says there's nothing in the 5-year plan for that. That road's been there over 25 years with basically nothing done to it. And there's a lot of roads like that in Benton County. I don't know how this stuff is budgeted for, or if there's a, some kind of plan in place to, roads wear out. And I would think there should be some kind of plan in place 30 years after they're put in, or 25 years after, that there's a plan in place and money budgeted to resurface it. And I don't see anything and maybe there is something out there, but I can't find it. I don't know if you guys know if there's anything, or why there isn't anything, I look at,
There is a plan out there.
There's a plan, and the only thing I can find on the plan this year is 2 bridges, one out by Mount Auburn, one down by Shellsburg. Is the only thing I can find, and I don't see anything any further out. I know I can go on Lynn County's website and see everything they're doing. And although they are a bigger county with more money and more people available to do this kind of stuff, but, you know, they've got the cost of every project on there, who it was awarded to, what's gonna get done, when it's gonna get done, and, you know, 61st Street Lane is a good example. And I'm just using that one because that's the one I drive the most. It's the heaviest traveled county highway there is. Nothing in plans, no plans in place for 5 years. They're not even looking at it. Where I think there should be something getting put toward that to budget the money for it. You know, you're talking probably $8 to $10 million to resurface that from Benton to the Oak Grove Church. And $8 million isn't gonna grow on a tree, so I don't know why money isn't getting put aside for that, or maybe it is and I don't see it somewhere. And maybe you guys can clue me in a little bit on how that's done, so.
If I could get you to, for the record, and your backs to the camera, please give your name.
Yeah, Jerry Greif.
Okay, Jerry. What you gave us,
Yeah.
told us the other day.
That's fine.
Yeah, as well. But, Jerry, I do believe this is the 5-year plan that we have from our county engineer. And it's got down here, grading improvements. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be, and this is mighty small, but I think 61st Street is included on the 5-year plan for grading improvements.
61st Street Lane.
Yeah, out
Okay,
there, south,
yeah.
the old mud road there. I
No,
think-
no, not the mud road. I'm talking the highway that goes to the Oak Grove Church.
I apologize,
So-
Sam. Because you were at that meeting the
Yeah,
other night.
61st Street Lane,
Okay.
61st Street,
My-
2 different things.
Boy, does that get confusing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's why I'm, you know, it's kind of like the gravel road that goes from the Oak Grove Church over into Lynn County.
Yep.
That was
yep.
supposed to get paved 30 years ago.
It's in the,
That one is in the process. That is on fiscal year '22.
Is gonna get paved?
Uh,
as far as I know, it
It
is.
says pavement or new resurface. Now I'm coming back over it.
Okay.
And again, I can't hardly see by the size of these maps, but I think this is the area right here.
Yep.
Yeah, and it shows that it's pavement or new resurface.
Okay.
So
What they did with
is
that
this where
road,
you were talking? Jerry?
That's what but I'm talking this pavement going from there out to the Oak Grove
Out
Church is
to it.
another one. You know,
Yeah, the
that's,
old county home road.
yeah, County Home Road.
Okay.
You know, that was resurfaced over 25 years ago, I believe. And nothing's been done to it since. It's starting to crumble, starting to break up, and there's nothing in plan. And don't take, just as that one is my only concern, there's other ones around the county that are the same way. You know, and I don't know if,
from,
Yeah,
this-
from Oak Grove Church to Lynn County, the reason they waited, or they upgraded the road, and then they give it a couple of years to settle,
Mhm.
then we're gonna pave it
okay.
supposedly.
Yeah, because I moved up here almost 30 years ago. And that was supposed to get done the year after I moved up here. That's gonna be great. Well, I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
So, and, you know,
Which it shows here, right there, Gary.
Yeah,
And then he's talking about the
County
county
Home
home
Road.
road right
Yeah.
here. And there's nothing in this 5-year plan that shows it as far as redoing. But
And, you know, that's, I don't know, where, is that published somewhere, their plan for 5 years out, other than something like that?
I don't believe so. I don't think he puts it on the internet.
I don't think it's
No.
out there.
Doesn't he just present that to the board?
Yes.
He comes in and with the budget, when they're discussing budgets, and he does present the 5-year plan of his. to the board. And then at the same time, I think he coordinates the DOT's 5 and 10-year plan along with it. So it may not be published, but it is discussed in an open meeting.
Now,
So,
for example, that road, that gravel road from the Oak Grove Church over into Lynn County, have they got bids on that yet, or do they budget money toward it, or do they just have to come up with money in
It
2022?
comes out of his budget that fiscal year.
Okay, but now, I'm not good at reading this budget, but it looked to me like they had about $9 million budgeted for secondary roads.
Mhm.
That project's gonna cost that much. It's gonna take their whole year's budget, or do they up their budget for another $9 or $10 million?
Well, he gets, highway funds too,
Oh, he does?
yes.
Okay.
Just like the bridges and everything. Now, I can't quote on the bridge that's over here on Benton that we're sharing, 2 counties are sharing, you know.
Benton.
Yes, and I can't even remember what the toll, because I mean, it was an expensive bridge. They were going another 90 feet or 80 feet longer than the one that's there right now, this new bridge. And-
But I think that was pretty well covered by federal funds.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes. I mean, it was,
I didn't know if no county roads were, I had just assumed they weren't, you know?
Some are, some are not, if I'm not mistaken, because some of them are farm to market roads and all kinds of different designations. And depending upon where the bridge is or what's going on and what road it is, determines how much the county gets.
I see.
Myron. Tell us
Good morning, Myron.
more,
Morning.
Myron. We're talking bridges and what they cost the county.
As well as roads, you know.
Mhm.
Jerry's concerns are, how the money is being spent, you know, resurfacing some of the blacktop roads, et cetera.
Mhm.
In particular, the county home road, which is 61st Street Lane.
Yep,
Correct.
yeah.
Boy, did I have that one mixed up.
Mhm.
And I'm just using that one for an example, you know, that road's been 25 years, probably, at least 25 years, I think, because I've been up there longer than that, and it was done just after I got up there, so, and,
Guess his main
But-
question was,
I think.
you know, how do you,
98 maybe?
I don't remember for sure, but, my question is, how this gets prioritized and what the long-term plan is. And I used Lynn County as an example. You know, on their website, they've got stuff listed, what's planned for this year, what it's costing, who the contract's awarded to, all the details of the project. Up here, you know, the last email I got from Ben Byerling, is that how you pronounce it?
Burling.
Burling. Last year, he said there's nothing in the 5-year plan for 61st Street Lane, for example. And I don't know if there's any plans for anywhere else in the county. You know, I'm just curious how that's done, how it's prioritized, how it's planned out. If there is some kind of plan, you know, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, I guess, I would think, you know, that all these roads have a life expectancy and there should be a plan, you know, to resurface them or rebuild them, whatever needs to be done, and budgeted for accordingly, other than wait till last minute and, you know, I don't know how it's done, I'm just curious how it's
Mhm.
done, so.
I mean, there is a 5-year plan requirement for every county, probably city too, but that submits to the DOT. Lynn County's got a larger staff and chooses to put all of that information. Most of their information has all been on electronic mapping. We've still been old school, and I draw it up on a paper map, present it to the board annually, and sometimes a project deteriorates faster than another, sometimes a project pops up, you know,
Yeah,
some
understood.
adjustments are made in that 5-year plan type. And fortunately, from a bridge standpoint, at least bridges, if they qualify under a program, a big share of their costs have come out of a special bridge fund that the feds have funneled through the state to the county level.
Okay.
But as I think Gary was talking as I walked in, depending on what classification a road has, may determine how or where some of the funding can come from. The county has its own local funds, local budget that they utilize, but there's also a farm to market fund that is administered by the Iowa DOT, but it's subdivided for each county in the state, and there's so much money available there, but it can only be applied to routes that are designated as a farm to market route.
Okay. Now, how would you find out which ones are, how would I as a taxpayer go out and look to see which one of these roads are farm to market?
You can go to the DOT's website and pull up maps.
Yeah, I've been there. Traffic count maps is the ones I look at the most.
Okay. I think off of that same webpage, but if you click on Benton County, there should be a farm to market map.
Okay, I didn't
That
see
would-
that. I seen the Benton County one designates.
Within
one.
Benton County, if you click on Benton County, it will ask you different types of maps.
Okay,
And there should be a farm to market
So-
selection, and it'll show you, pull up the county map, and you'll basically have either white roads or black colored roads. And the black colored ones, I think, are the highlighted ones that are designated as a farm to market
okay,
designation.
okay. Now, is 61st Street Lane, for example, considered a farm to market?
Pretty much all of the paved roads in Benton County are on that farm to market
So they would
system.
more apt to be able to get federal funding to resurface or do bridges or whatever?
Yeah, within those mapping, there's even some federal designations feds use for certain things, but those bridges and or on the farm to market route or the farm to market route themselves can utilize farm to market money to do improvements on those roadways.
Okay. Now, as far as 61st Street Lane, the bridge they replaced last year,
Mm-hmm.
did the county have to foot the bill for that, or? Do you know?
No, it all came, I think 100% of that came, ultimately is being paid for out of the special bridge fund. It was funneled through the farm to market account through the DOT, but that account gets reimbursed for full cost of that project.
Okay. All right. Now, as far as a 5-year plan of any kind, do you have is that accessible to me? Can I see what's on the 5-year plan? Other than, he had a copy of,
It was part of our public meeting, that is correct.
Okay.
I don't know if we have it on a
I didn't know if public could have
web page
access
or
to that.
anything of that nature.
I don't know if we've ever tried to scan that and post it anywhere on our website. That needs to be done here again shortly for the, updating. But annually, the middle of April, it needs to be turned into the DOT for the, kind of mirrors the two documents, requirements from the DOT is the DOT budget, which virtually mirrors the county budget. It's just that the DOT submits things slightly different. I think we've talked about that a little bit before, more or less what I submit to the DOT is a net cost, whereas the county is going to be the ultimate cost. And I use the example of buying a piece of equipment, and if you were going to sell it on your own versus trading it into the dealership, on the county's budget, you would show the total purchase price of the vehicle, and you would show the revenue that you were going to get for the vehicle you were going to sell versus trade. The DOT budget just says, show me that difference, because that's really what you're going to pay. Your net cost is all that they need to see, because that's what's going to be the end dollar in that accounting perspective.
I guess it wouldn't be that big a deal to scan the
Mhm.
5-year plan and put it on the website, on your website.
Mhm.
So it wouldn't be that big a deal.
Or the other question is, where do I go, who do I go to get that information? Can I send you an email and get it, or?
Probably. I mean,
Okay.
I say it was part of a public meeting.
I was
And
gonna
to say
say-
there should be a copy in
Okay.
the auditor's office also.
Okay, all right, I can go there.
Since it wasn't a part of the public meeting, it is a public record.
Okay.
So you are able to request that, so.
Okay, All right.
Appreciate your thoughts.
Yeah, I
Jerry.
appreciate you guys
Really
taking
do.
time to listen to me.
Sorry, I got confused between 61st Street and 61st Street Lane.
And 61st Street Trail.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So,
Yeah,
all right, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, Myron.
Talking bridges, I guess. Haley decided to assign her resolution number to those, but
Which one do you?
I don't care, since she's got 25 and 26, we'll just go in order. Resolution number 2125 is to close the road temporarily for construction of a new bridge to replace the existing one. This one would be located on the Benton County line north of Dizer on Highway B37. Wolf Creek Bridge, that's basically between D65 and D65. If you travel in Tama County, I think if you go west on D65, it takes you to Buckingham. If I recall right, if you travel east on D65 in Benton County, that leads you to Mount Auburn. But close that half mile of Tama County line for the construction of that bridge. They are planning on starting next Monday on that one, and it will take probably most of the construction season to tear that one out and build a new one.
This is the one we're cost sharing, right?
This one is cost shared in various ways. This one I submitted a couple years ago to a special state fund that the DOT administers above and beyond of the federal funding, that this one qualified, that's gonna pay 80% up to $2 million of the cost. That remaining 20%, half of it's gonna be paid for Tama County and half of it's gonna be paid for Benton County out of the special bridge fund that I was talking about just a little bit earlier. So the net cost, the only Benton County cost that involved this project was a little bit of right-of-way that we purchased for the widening of that bridge. Otherwise, it's all being paid for out of those multiple funds.
Okay. It's by resolution, do I
Make
have
a
a motion?
motion to approve that temporary road closure
Second,
All in favor?
resolution. Primer, aye.
beer shank aye.
Seaman, aye.
The second bridge, coincidentally same contractor, different contract, bundling project, DOT, similarly about a year ago, submitted a large set of projects, bridge replacement for both cities, DOT, cities and counties, of which, based on the criteria that was put together, Benton County had 4 projects that would meet that criteria. And what was done was bundling them, which was a term the feds were liking to use, a structure in Johnson County. And so there were 5 structure replacements that were all part of that contract. 2 of those 5 are under construction right now that we have going on in Benton County. A third one would be located straight north of Vinton on 24th Avenue Drive. I accidentally messed that up yesterday on the agenda. But if you go, what is that, mile and a half straight north of Hummel's Curve, 24th Avenue Drive, replacing that bridge with a new one. The contractor wants to start next Monday, and so we would need to close that road between 53rd and 54th Street on 24th Avenue Drive while that construction's going on.
Make a motion that we close that road as well, 24th Avenue, 25th is posted.
Second,
Okay, by resolution.
beer
Primer,
shank
aye.
Beer shank aye.
Seaman High. How long's that one gonna take, Byron?
Shouldn't have told you what the other one was gonna take, so you wouldn't have asked the question. Rough guess would probably be 3.5 months, just how they typically do that one. That one's gonna be a little bit longer than the current one. The one on the Tama County line is gonna be more wider than it is difference in length than the one that's there. But the one on the county line's got some pavement that's gonna go with it, so there's just a few things that are kinda making that project a little bit longer duration-wise. But if the weather cooperates, like I say, the contractor's got the adequate workforce, so based on their past experiences, I would say probably 3 to 3.5 months.
Are those the only two that we got in Benton County this year?
These two here, or,
Yeah.
I mean, we've got the 2 that are currently closed and being worked on right now. They're planning on pouring a deck on one of those here later this week.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
north of it by the sand pit. There's one north of Schminke Equipment. That's under construction right now. The bridge deck replacement north of Blairstown is probably gonna start in mid to late May. Have talked to that contractor what his exact plan is yet. That contractor was awarded late last fall. And we just closed the road last week for this week for that bridge on 75th northeast of Norway that's starting this week to be replaced.
And out of these, most all of them have federal funding or state funding that's,
All of them have federal or state funding that are paying for the construction cost of the projects. The only thing that we participate in the cost would be like, I mentioned on the county line, any additional right-of-way that was needed for the project was purchased with local funds.
just help you out a little bit with,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Sure does.
The cemetery deal, that's gonna happen this week yet? Do you remember?
Thought the
Is that-
last email, North Blairstown,
Yeah,
thought the last email sounded like next Tuesday, the 6th, was gonna be a better day than the 1st.
okay.
It's the last, most recent one I had from Wayne, so that was
Okay.
my assumption.
You probably send Ben down? Ben, or you?
I will send Ben down for any survey information if, depending on whether that's gonna be captured at the time or afterwards.
Okay.
Trying to keep it earmarked on my calendar if I can be there
Okay.
myself. I haven't looked at I think the weather is sounding promising, but with multiple projects going on right now, whether the exact time Ben may be committed elsewhere, I mean, you could tie that stuff in later or not, but
Okay.
do they even know where the cemetery was at?
based on, well, representatives from Pioneer, I think pinpoint where they believe it is based on the old aerials, old drawing information. They're planning on being there also, so they would be able to point out the general area, and then the university can do their sonar testing in that area and probably a certain amount beyond it, I think, to find out what they determine and find with their testing. That's how I'm assuming this is all gonna come together.
all the questions I have for you.
We got one item on the underliner.
I threw that on.
Oh, okay.
And Wayne's here too, might be here just because of that. I threw it on just to discuss and/or consider moving forward solely on the preliminary concept idea that Justin Campbell with Shive Hattery mentioned briefly at the Thursday meeting last week, Shive Hattery was the consultant firm that the city of Benton hired to do the recreational trail around south side of Benton. That included 25th Avenue and 25th Avenue Drive, is it, maybe? Perimeter type of deal. And so they had done some survey work in the area with that project. And Tracy, or one of you board members, had asked what secondary roads schedule looked like for the current year. And I indicated with all the construction projects, doing any survey work out there with our manpower would probably not happen before fall. And so I didn't know, based on comments that were made and received Thursday, whether the county wanted to foot the preliminary costs for survey and looking at some of the concepts. I don't know what Haley mentioned to you, Gina. She did mention to me the other day on the phone that there might be a little bit of funding that you, the board, directly control that could possibly pay for part of that. And was it 5?
I have 3 line items.
Okay.
That
She was mentioning $5,000 to $10,000. I think that she thought.
Well, the 5,001 is out of the Department 99, and it's planning and management consultation. That's the $5,000
Okay.
one. Maybe since she looked in it further with you, there's also one directly in the Board of Supervisors department that's planning and management. That's $10,000. And then there's legal and court related for the Board of Supervisors at $11,000. So the 5,000 that you discussed, she did look in their department specifically, and there's the 21,000 that she saw in your guys' department.
I don't think we want to use any of that legal fund
Mhm.
portion of that. And quite honestly, for myself, I would just soon see what the city of Benton has to say before we do anything, any obligation of any funds, et cetera. If they, we would be foolish not to think the city isn't going to eventually annex something in. And so, I don't know if it'll be in my lifetime yet, because I'm pushing, as you are. So,
How do you perceive your lifestyle, life spend, how long?
So, I'd like to see what they plan, if they plan on participating financially in this, rather than just go forth and start bearing the cost.
Is there any state or federal funds
Available for surveying?
for road, anything on that road?
Right now, that's just designated as a local county route or designation. So it doesn't have farm to market designation. That's got that available funding. Because a lot of federal funding is minimum traffic count attributed to that, and with the current traffic count that's assigned to that route, there wouldn't be any of that money available at this point because of that low traffic count. I threw it on the agenda just to, I guess, re-talk about it a little bit more and whether or not whether the county wanted to at least start looking at at more concrete costs for doing that could be part of discussions with all entities, or whether, as you mentioned, Rick, wanting to hear from all of them, because I heard from comments from the school Thursday, as well as the property owners. Upon looking at Beacon, even before Thursday night's meeting, and it stood out a little bit more on the large screen, and asked to check on one thing just by the way that was drawn up. Beacon is a very useful tool, but I don't take it as 100% correct every time with the way the lines are drawn. I know my office had looked up the easement width also between, from a couple weeks ago when it was a topic here in the boardroom and last Thursday night, finding that 50-foot easement confirmation that others have found. Learned that I guess the road was originally established running from, if you were to start on the east end, but where Alan Merchant lives, from there straight west to 218 originally is how it was established. They closed it, abandoned it, and moved it to where it is today. But the quarter line, which would be Kirk Appleby's south boundary line as well as the school district south boundary line, is the north boundary line of the 50-foot easement.
So the obvious question from the city's standpoint is, what's this gonna cost?
I mean, so based on what I just said, Kirk and the school district border that easement. If you widen the easement equally on both sides, then they become property owners that you're acquiring. The city limits, I believe, just goes to that parcel on the east end that the school district owns. And so the current 50-foot easement, I think, is probably 100% in the county at the moment. But with the proposed improvements being discussed and the suggested approach of not attacking, but sounds like the wrong word, but purchasing the necessary right-of-way equally on both sides of the existing easement, you then would be entering into the city limits of Vinton in the ground that's currently titled to the Vinton-Shellsburg School District.
Hence, that's where city participation would come in. If we chose not to do anything with easements, widening, it's all up to us. So if it's as per the group that got together that Saturday morning, I think it was, recommending that we widen it, so then we're gonna get into the city limits. So, and I still don't think it's gonna hurt to talk to the city.
Oh, wait.
That's a meeting in progress. I think it's fair to say the city manager is having the same amount of difficulty that I am having getting the mayor to return a call for a informal, let's sit down and talk about sort of a thing. And maybe you folks are able to motivate him, but we have not been able to. The city manager's told me that what they annex goes to the middle of the road, and I don't know if you know until you have it surveyed. And from the city's perspective, I'm sure the positions is gonna be, what's it gonna cost? And so until we get a rough notion from somebody to do this, why then what do we have to talk about with the city?
Well, I think
that from the people that I have talked to unofficially, because I don't have any capacity to do anything, is what do you think? It's kind of like, looks to me like something needs to be done. You
Well,
know,
we've heard everything from a couple 100,000 up to $500,000,
I'm with you.
a quarter to a half.
I'm with you on that, yeah.
And so unless we actually drop the coin to do the survey, but then we're not, or the, well, yeah, survey cost, you know, but we're not sure. To do the survey, we'd really like to know where the cart and horse are aligned.
Fair
You
enough.
know, are we gonna be in the city limits? Do they wanna have it that way, where they participate?
Fair enough.
You know, that we
Yeah.
already know that survey costs are gonna be 12 to 15,000, and a wide range of a quarter to a $500,000 to do the road completely as per your group's recommendation, you know, so.
So I think for me, if I'm a private landowner next to a project like that, I say, hey, you guys in, we're gonna do this. And I go, what's it gonna cost us? Well, we don't, somewhere between a quarter and $500,000. I said, well, you're gonna have to get it closer for me. If you believe in this project having strong legs from the safety of the kids in school, you have to maybe speculate that your investment to get the thing surveyed, some rough cost guesstimate, is not unreasonable, you know. And then once again, is this a $10,000 trip or $100,000 to get the survey? Now, I'm not smart enough to know that, you know, but what I am saying, it looks to me like that's the logical next step. Maybe every bit as important as having a conversation with folks from the city. I don't know how you motivate those folks.
I know, and I think you mentioned maybe an informal meeting. It's too bad they weren't there Thursday night,
Yeah,
because then we'd have had a better feel.
yeah, that's part of the intent, and,
So,
I can ask that the county be put on the agenda for city council meeting and spread it out right there. They are aware of this, councilman, and,
if that's what it's gonna take to get them together, I think then that's what you gotta do,
I mean,
gentlemen.
Well, I would say, and see, Wayne, they wanna participate. So it would actually be another supervisors meeting at the city council.
yeah, so
It has
So-
to be.
So to finish it, and I need to be quiet, I can learn more by listening than I can by talking, but I've asked the city manager, I said, you give me 3 days where you can get together, just give me 3, and I'll come back to this board, says, okay, pick one. These will work on their side of it, see what I'm saying? And, I mean, once again, you know who, I mean, but I'm willing to do the labor, don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but I said, give me 3 days. I don't care, day or night, doesn't matter, you give me 3.
They meet on Thursday nights, is it?
I don't know.
Don't know for sure. Does anybody?
Well, they did last Thursday, but I don't know if it was a regular meeting. I don't know whether that was a regular meeting or a special meeting that dealt with the budget for the
Yeah,
next fiscal year. I don't know. What's it,
sure.
Myron, I'm curious, if you posed this question to the powers that be at the state level about changing the designation or working in the direction of changing the designation of that dirt road to a farm to market road because of the items and the reasons why we've already, do you get nowhere? Or they say, you know, gotta have traffic count first. Well, how the hell do you get a good traffic count on the dirt road?
Most farm to market roads at this point in calendar life probably have been upgraded from dirt to rock, and the direction somewhat from a farm to market designation was heavy traffic and strong consideration for pavement. Funding always played a part in that. The designation of farm to market, how it was derived years ago, used to be a 3-person committee on how you designated those routes.
At the state level or local?
The local level actually determined it. You had a DOT representative, a county representative, and generally a mayor of a city representative. And the prior county engineer knows more about how that process worked because it changed. Shortly after I became the county engineer, it became more of a committee-run activity that's made up primarily of county engineers that review those and determine that with a DOT representative and how they have handled that in the past. What I mentioned to begin with is their comment was really what I just said, is that a dirt road would have been improved at this point. Why is a dirt road being considered as a farm to market route at this point in time? Not to say that a person couldn't present that, but since that designation got started back in the 70s, granted, funding changed. The percentage of funds that come to the county from the road use tax has changed over the years. It was a higher proportion years ago than where it is now, and so there were things that were being planned some years ago, and then they have backed off because either both funding has changed or traffic has changed somewhat.
My understanding that the state funding for farm and market road isn't as plentiful as what it was once upon a time. Is that fair to say?
I mean, the farm to market fund, I think, gets 8 or 8.5% of annually of the total money collected for road use tax.
Okay, that's a pretty good chunk, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What would that amount to in Benton County? 2,000, 20,000, 200,000?
1.3, $1.4 million annually.
You know, I look at that out there, and I think of back when I was in high school, and there was 218, there was a low spot in there between the viaduct and the Van Horn Newhall corner on 218. And a girl got in an accident, was in a coma for a while. And manship went and got the state to fill that in. And that viaduct's still there, they're gonna take it out in a couple of years, but, I mean, they moved 40 acres of Lynn Rennerneck's farm out into that hole. And I look now at all the roads and bridges in Benton County, and I see that right there as it's already fell through the cracks, because it's a dirt road, it's getting developed out there, and it can't get any funds from the state, or because it's fell through, it's gone. As far as the state knows, there's not even a road there. So I don't know how to, I've been thinking about how to get this upgraded so we can get some funds from the state. And I'm coming up with zero. And it's getting new houses built out there. Now's the time to do it, because if that development keeps going out there, it's gonna be on the south side of the road pretty quick. And then the road's already there, or the right-of-way's already there, and I look at all the guys on the south side of town, southeast side of town, they're all going past the school. Or they're going over to 218.
But the legitimate first step is in either case, you'd have to have a better sub-base or base than what's there now. And until we have some kind of an idea about what this project is gonna cost, we don't move it. We don't move. We don't move. We don't move.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking,
And every day that we don't move,
yeah. And,
Well, it boils down to, you know, before the high school was put out there, mud road. Been mud road for forever and a day.
matter.
And it didn't matter. But as development has happened, and sure, we'd like to have happened many years before it has, but it's now an issue. Now it should be noticed, is correct. Again, there's a difference between going out there and working with what the county has for easements and right-of-way. Working with what we've got, putting in a base, et cetera, working out of our own pocket. If we're going to go as per his group's recommendation and widen that road, get easements, et cetera, and get into the city limits, that's where I want to know if they're going to participate.
Yeah, and
You know,
it's looking like the city don't want to participate.
Well, the problem doesn't go away if you ignore it. And getting them together, okay, having troubles getting them together for an informal meeting, we just need to go down there and say, listen, this is a high priority for residents of the county. You know, people in Benton are building this direction. If we expand the right-of-way, et cetera, we're gonna be in the city limits. Does the city want to participate? Now that tells us if we're gonna spend $100,000 to do it on our own to improve the road, or if we're gonna spend $500,000 and make it a joint effort. I think we need to know, and if you can't get the horse to go to the water, we need to take the water to the horse.
Maybe the thing to do is to get the right of way and.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't know that we want to spend money to go into the city limits and get that right away.
Okay. But get it graded, get it gravelled, and then forget the rest of it for a couple of years, but,
Just do the county portion.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, then you are not gonna go out and get an extended right away then. You're just gonna use what you got.
Well, I don't know, according to Myron, the right of way is not evenly dispersed. The right of way's out of, the road's not where it's supposed to be.
no, I think it's, based on the old records, I think it was established such that it is where it was supposed to be. It's just not on a quarter line or a section line like most roads are. Not always is that the case. I believe a similar dirt road down in Florence Township is the same thing, because that property owner I used to talk to off and on over the years commented that his ancestors were the ones that road is all on their side of the section line and through their property and did not run down section line. And so I don't think it was that it exists right now any different than how it was established. It's just upon looking at the map, I didn't realize that initially and discovered that after, well, in the course of Thursday's meeting, both looking at it on the screen, but I was looking at a little bit of information preceding that meeting that day, and I said, we're gonna have to look that up and find that out for sure. And sure enough, that's exactly what the courthouse old records indicate when it was established, is the 50-foot easement was gonna start at the quarter line and be on the south side of it, so.
But would you, if you hired a surveying company, isn't there pins in the middle of the road that define the quarter section, or the section lines.
Mhm.
That would be your starting point for a
Correct.
survey, and then you would, if the deed for the stuff on the north side of the road says the southeast corner, the southeast corner of the southeast corner,
Right.
designated, there's the pin, there's your
You're gonna-
starting point.
Either confirm or establish who all of the property owners truly are and
There
where
you
that
go.
road
Yeah.
all lays in there. And we also heard about utilities the other night. That would all be tied in with that survey information also.
And I'm quite sure that when John Anderson deeded that stuff or swapped that stuff to the hospital and then ultimately back to the school, they had to use a legal description that's been used for 100 years or whatever, but, you know, that gets me back to my point. Until we figure out where the good starting point is and approximately what this would cost, our discussion with the city council, in my mind, is gonna be short, sweet. Yeah, we think that's a pretty good idea. What's it gonna cost? We don't know. Oh, how far into this will go? We don't know. Oh, well,
But I think we need to know what we're talking about. Are we gonna talk about just taking the road we've got and improving it? Or are we going to follow your group's recommendation?
And widen it.
well, what is your feelings? I mean, you fellows are the guys who make the ultimate decision on what you wanna do. What is your, I mean, you know, if you stood back that project and says, if I and me alone was the only guy that was gonna pass judgment on this, how would you do it? How would you do it?
If we take the path of least resistance, we improve that road. That's least
As it
resistance.
exists.
That-
In my judgment, that's the worst choice.
But
Because you'll
Yeah,
spend 50,
least
60,000 to
resistance.
do what you do.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as we know it, ultimately, when that road ends up the way I think it'll end up, you'll have wasted that money, it'll be tore up, and it'll be done. See, our group does put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, still gunshot wound. Still gunshot wound, if that's what you wanna do, well then, I think that's the fourth choice that you can make, but that's just me.
So you can
See, I don't get to weigh in on this, it's your responsibility.
You can address it,
I'm thinking
we're
do it
still
right.
got the gunshot wound. So, I
Well,
mean, yeah.
I'm thinking if you do it right, you do the surgery and fix the root of the problem, and then,
So,
but that's just me, you know.
those are questions we've got to come up with. You know, if we widen it, we get more people involved, we've got the purchase of property,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And not that I don't like their idea, because I do, you know. I'm just not sure that we're gonna get participation. And so ultimately, the thing will end up in the city limits. I'm convinced of that. So, you know,
I think-
and if they improve the road, if it does, it's out of their dime.
I think we need the first step is to go talk to the city. That's the first step.
Get on their agenda, do our 24-hour notice.
Then we know where we're at least,
Yeah,
know what we're dealing with.
You guys wanna take a swing at giving them notice that the board of supervisors would like to visit with them, or you want me to try? I'll do whatever you want me to do.
It would have to be a time item. And I don't know how easy that is to make it a time item on their agenda, because then you guys would start your meeting coincide with theirs. I'm just throwing out a time, say it's 6:00. They want to be on the agenda, then that's when the Board of Supervisors would start their meeting
Right.
at the same time. So, I mean, it would be nice, but it has to have a time.
Tuesday mornings kind of booked for me, but other than that. And we can move Tuesday.
Well, all I'm saying is, the preliminary work that I've done is, give me 3 days, just give me 3. So far, that hasn't worked as well as what I thought it would, for whatever reason. You know, but my point is, I thought, hey, you know what? I don't know, on their side of the desk, I don't know how many people it takes to have a quorum, you have to have the public meeting and all that stuff. But simply a meeting, sit down and talk about, hey, we're thinking about doing some upgrades for this. Hey, you know, oh, what are your thoughts? Here's these guys' grand plan. We can argue either side of the issue. Do we just rock what we got and forget it? Or do we do it right, long-term? This will have an impact in the city. What do you want to do? And we can do that. I mean, I get it. I mean, I get it. I'm willing to do the work, all of it. I don't care.
In all honesty, it really needs to be, the road needs a chance to settle. And the best way to do that is put rock for a year or two. And then the road is settled, then you can asphalt it and it won't break up the asphalt.
Well, if you're gonna asphalt it, I didn't know anybody was talking about asphalt.
Yeah, yeah. Our group's saying, just give us a rock road. Just give us a good rock road with a good base. And 5 or 10 years from now, if the city wants, that's a whole different discussion.
Well, I can tell you what's gonna happen. The first thing that'll happen is we'll get it rocked. And then there'll be dust. And then the city's gonna want it paved. That's how it's gonna go down. You take cars going down that road with its rock, and those people on the north side of that dirt road, they're not gonna want it.
Wayne, my opinion, when if we go to the council and meet with them, I guess one of the thing that, it's one thing to say, yes, I'm interested in participating, but you guys wanna figure, we wanna figure, all right? Let's hire this consulting firm that you got kinda lined up here. Is the city willing to throw in some money towards the survey? That'll weigh a lot better on my eyes right now instead of us writing the check. If they're willing to throw a little money in for the survey to find out how much it's gonna cost, okay. But if they tell me absolutely not, we don't wanna even participate in the survey, but yes, it's a good idea, I'm kinda leaning the way Rick is right now. Then we'll rock it just the way it is.
I don't wanna shove something down their throat by, doing a condemnation or something to widen the road. And that, widening the road, their proposal was an excellent proposal. And I totally agree with coming up
Yep.
and having
Yep,
a bit of a grade,
yep,
but making it easier to pull out onto the highway compared to just coming up.
yeah.
And so, I really like their recommendation, and I would hope the city would want to participate willingly, because it sounds like the school would.
Oh, I
They
haven't
didn't
run
ask
in-
them to open their checkbook yet, but.
Well, I got a plan for that, but that's for another day.
So,
But I guess what I'm saying is, I think your idea is valid. We're gonna do a rough survey, or we're gonna do,
mhm.
and today we're saying, we don't know. It'd be better if we said, look, scientific wild ass guess, set yourself up for $50,000 study or a survey, 40,000, pick a number. And when we do this stuff that looks like what you've got annexed into the city, you've got 30% of the total. You got 30% of the total, so are you willing to commit 15,000 to this study to see what it looks like? There's the grand plan, and somebody will tell us, this is a $430,000 project, best we can figure. Then are you in or are you out? I get it. I mean, I think history has proven that everybody gets along the best when everybody talks about it ahead of time rather than fight about it halfway through it. When people set their feet, you ain't gonna move that mountain. They've got their mind made up. But I do understand that the council's probably gonna say, what's it gonna cost? Hell, we don't know.
Well, we've got an idea. We do have an idea. Myron has thrown out some numbers to us.
Comfortable with it?
Yeah.
So, I think that's, we need to find out where they stand.
Yeah. And what would the number be?
I mean, I'm still in that 400 to 500,000.
No, I meant the original, the question should be, for this rough draft scientific wild guess, this looks to be that, what would Shrive and Hadley, or are you guys comfortable with?
Well, the total project cost.
Shive Hattery to do the survey and put some concepts together to more easily put some concrete costs together, mentioned $12,000 to $15,000
Okay.
Thursday night.
That's the number
Yeah,
for me.
you know, they could look at your design, they could look at a minimum road design if you're gonna make improvements, look at that 80-foot shelf that you've requested, or whether you tweak it, all of those things that they could then punch into a computer software with the survey information and start looking at, you're gonna need to be this wide if you wanna look at this option. You know, you're gonna need, you know, to go get fill material if you wanna build it, you know, to the suggested design, and here's some past costs for doing that, and maybe narrow that gap down tighter or per each different idea. Okay, let's do nothing more than, you know, to do just rock the existing road with the existing easement. You're not gonna solve the drainage problem out there, so you're gonna still have some drainage issues out there. You're gonna lose some of what you put out there, just talking through that, you know, whatever that cost is. I don't care if it's 50,000 or it's 100,000. You're gonna lose some of that on given years just because of what Mother Nature does to that road right now, the way it is. So, you know, a minimum improvement might try to address at least the drainage to a minimum, have the right road width and the geometry that goes with the road profile that might still need some right-of-way easement, but maybe not as much as proposed from the ag industry. But you could look at the bare minimum maybe cost. You could look at the request, any other things that might be modifications from that all could be done with that concept. But like I said, there's a cost, small cost, I guess, proportionate to what an overall project might be. And the consultant mentioned that they could probably have their survey team available readily to jump on that. And so I've had a couple contacts made from them asking just how things are moving. And I'm like, well, you know, I heard what I heard Thursday. I haven't heard any direction. If it was going to be organized at least through my office on coordinating the consultant, I threw it onto his agenda just to talk about it some more. And if the city of Benton still needs to have some comment to you, you know, before you're comfortable seeing a bill come before you to approve for doing some work, certainly what this conversation and discussion was needed, because city council did not have anyone available to attend last Thursday, where you got a lot of feedback from the other entities.
Is it too racy for the supervisor to say, as an endorsement of our support of a project that would improve this one fashion, form, or another, we're gonna waste $15,000 to see what the grand project might look like, and city council, we feel strongly enough about this, we're gonna go ahead and invest $10,000–15,000 to see. Our guideline says, according to where the city limits are at this current time, you got 30% of the lineal footage. We might look for you to 5, put with our 10 to get the survey done. We'll get back together again, and here's 3 options of what we might do and how we might do it. I mean, it seems to me like, don't take this wrong, it seems to me like we've done an awful lot of talking and thinking about this, and there's nothing wrong with that. But maybe it's time for us to make that step and say, let's put some money on the table and get a rough draft look of, and if Shivan Hattery says, turn the green light on, we'll be up there next week, take us a couple of weeks, you'll have something to look at. I mean, is that unreasonable to ask the supervisor to do that?
See, Wayne, that's what I originally said. I wanna see if the Benton city would throw in.
Yeah, but if they don't, you're gonna be out $5,000, right? Roughly a third of
I
this.
think it's better to ask them to participate.
Yes.
Than ask them to pay a third of the bill.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You know,
I'm not throwing a number out there.
Well,
Right.
I'm just, yeah.
Yeah,
And so,
The best thing to do is ask them to participate prior to,
You know,
instead of asking them to
and
pick up the bill.
I don't think it's as Well, it does say discuss and approve the survey, I guess, but nothing else from there, but, or possibly approve. Well, we've discussed it, and I think the consensus is we want to meet with the city.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's pretty much it.
If you have to, you just, put up, you get on their agenda,
If you,
you know?
you had talked that you were going to meet with the mayor and city coordinator, or manager, if that's the scenario, if you can get that accomplished, do it. But if we have to go to a full-blown council meeting, I think the board should attend. That's kind of the gist of it.
Okay.
And maybe you would coordinate.
I'm fine with whatever.
Yeah.
I'll do the chores, don't
Yeah.
misunderstand me.
Yeah.
But
Otherwise, like Gina says, I guess I wouldn't, to help them out, I mean, we talked this for an hour now, instead of having it at the 6 o'clock, I think their meetings start at 6.
I just threw a
Yeah,
time
I
out.
understood.
Yeah.
But anyway, have it towards the end of the meeting, so when we get into this,
we can spend the time you want.
yes,
That's true.
you follow?
I do. I
Okay.
do. So, yeah. So,
Would it be valuable to have that group of people that were at the meeting last Thursday?
Just have it
the
over
city
there.
Council?
It's big enough over there.
Yeah, the city council room is, I've been to a city
It's
council
bigger
meeting, it's
than
big
this.
enough.
You were talking, Gary, the folks that showed up for that meeting, to have them show up one more time to visit with it. Is that what you were talking about?
That's what I'm asking.
It would be nice to have the school board there.
I was gonna say, you can do the 3, and that way you don't have to get back together with them too, yeah.
If the school board could be there, we already know where.
The property
the
owners, they're
property owners
all,
stand. They're good with giving easements if need be. We also know that they don't want to open a billfold.
yeah,
So, I mean, I think we know where they stand. And the school board probably has a better billfold than the property owners.
It ain't real money, it's just taxpayer money.
That's right.
Okay, I'll shut up.
Well, it's the same scenario whether it's city or county.
I get it.
Yeah.
Or the Sila Foundation,
Yeah.
like, we've got our
Yeah,
list of things we'd like to see if money didn't matter, but
yeah.
it does,
okay,
absolutely does.
Very good. Well, you guys will get that coordinated.
okay.
And let us know. Sweet.
Anything else?
I'm good. If I'm
Motion.
good, I make a motion to adjourn.
Gary,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I gotta walk down the